I'm a bit of a skeptic of ghosts, purely because if I allow myself to believe that they're real, I'd just end up creeping myself out. However, a few years ago, I did have a paranormal experience that, to this day, makes me rethink my belief in dark entities.
Wow.
This true and scary story is something I like to call the book under the bed. It started a few years ago. I must have been maybe 16 at the time, and living with my mum and stepdad. When I could be bothered to get up early on the weekends, we'd often head to boot fairs and go on the hunt for some good bargains. On this one weekend, I managed to find the energy to get up early and go with my parents to a local boot fair sale not too far from our house. On the way there, I was thinking about what kinds of things I'd like to find. Maybe a few cool CDs to add to my collection, posters, notebooks for revision, useless teenage stuff. We spent hours browsing all of the stalls, and I hadn't found much at this point and sort of gave up. It wasn't until one of the last few stalls at the end that I caught a glimpse of a leather black notebook lying next to some shoes and random t-shirts. I saw that the price was only £1.20, and I thought, bit witchy, but definitely my style and something that I can take notes in for school this year. So without hesitation, I picked it up and paid for it. Mistake number one, as I'm sure you'll find out later. I never thought to check inside if someone had previously drawn or painted or jotted down anything on the pages. I just assumed that because of the outside of the book, it looked so clean and new, the inside would be the same. After doing a final clean sweep of the boot fair, we decided to head back home and relax for the rest of the Saturday. I remember specifically placing the book on my desk as soon as I got in and heading back downstairs to relax in the garden.
Right.
A few hours of chats with the parents, a head start on the barbecue, playing fetch with the dog. I headed back to grab my laptop as I wanted to get some studying done before Monday. When I entered my room, I noticed that the leather notebook was laying directly on top of my laptop, which was on my bed, nowhere near my desk. I wouldn't say I stopped dead at my tracks. It was more like I slowed down in a confused manner until I reached my laptop and the notebook, but I could have sworn I left the notebook on my desk. I remember how carelessly I shoved it down on the surface. This thought only occurred for a split second. As I said, if I think about the paranormal too hard, I start to believe it and it freaks me out. So I put it down to the assumption that my mum had most likely been in my room and moved it. I grabbed my laptop and the book, and on the way out of my room, I gently lobbed it back onto the desk and left. I spent the rest of the day downstairs, going between studying, snacking, and enjoying the sun. When it came to heading to bed, I went back upstairs to my room to get a towel and some other bits so I could have a shower before bed. It wasn't until after the shower that I realised the book wasn't on my desk anymore. It had been moved, again, and not by me. Usually I would have come up with a rational explanation, but this happens twice? It's hard to ignore. I asked my mum if she'd been in my room and moved anything specifically, like my notebook on my desk, but she hadn't been in my room all day, and said that it had probably fallen behind the back of the desk and I should look thoroughly tomorrow. I looked that night before bed, but nothing. The book had vanished from the bedroom, like I'd never even bought it in the first place. Over the next few days, I'd spend maybe a few minutes in the evening looking for it whenever I remembered about the notebook. The fact that it had gone missing for some reason was always in the back of my mind. I could have simply bought another one, but there was an itch telling me that that notebook for some reason was important and worth the search. 2 weeks went by, and my mood swings and headaches had gotten worse than ever before. I've always very much been the quiet girl with a few mates and a simple life, and definitely not the kind of person to start arguments or get pissed off easily. Can't relate to that.
No, neither can I.
But for some reason, I started picking arguments and blowing words for no reason at friends and family over the smallest of things. It was so unlike me, but I just had an overwhelming sense of anger and frustration inside of me. One evening, I'd come home from school and, like most days, had planned to either hang out with friends or chill and watch whatever cringy teenage romance series I was into at the time. It was windy and rainy, so I decided to stay at home and put on my TV. A few hours went by of me watching the TV and texting my mates when I heard my mum hastily come up the stairs and say my name. It was so loud and clear, I thought maybe she was calling me out of my room to have a go at me for something. Paused my TV and opened my door. Nothing. No one was there. Not my mum, not anyone else. I thought it had come from my TV, and I thought I'd heard my name from afar. Could that explain it? I didn't think much of it. I hopped back into bed and unpaused the TV. Not even 5 seconds went by, and I heard my name again, just as clear and as loud as last time, and again in my mum's voice. I paused the TV, hoping I'd hear her calling my name once more, and I'd know she was pulling my leg or wanting my attention for something, but nothing. I may as well go and check and see if my mum needs me. I checked downstairs and realised she wasn't there. I headed back upstairs and knocked on her bedroom door, only to be greeted with a grunt. I walked in and my mum turned over in bed and asked if everything was okay. I mentioned that I thought I'd heard her say my name and wondered if she needed anything. She said she'd been asleep for about an hour and a half taking a nap and definitely hadn't showered for me. Again, I didn't want to get too overthinky on it as something scary or creepy, so I just said, okay, and headed back to my bedroom. When I got there, I walked in and closed the door behind me, only taking a few steps into my room towards my bed, and that's when I saw it. This entity. A dark, pitch-black shadow of negative energy sitting on the bed, staring at me.
No, thank you.
It was shaped like a human, but there were no features at all. It was just black, but vibrant at the same time. Not even a full second went by, and I felt this ball of energy stand up from my bed and run. It said nothing, but its energy projected onto me, and I could feel it was saying, "Get out." My fight or flight kicked in, and I always had wondered what I'd do in this situation, if I freeze or I fight or run or a combination of all of them. My body chose to run. I let out a retching scream and lunged towards my door. The scary part was that I could feel this dark energy all over me, pushing me to get out, but I freaked and I couldn't get a grip on the door handle. The negative energy surrounding me was building up, and I finally clicked open the door and bolted to my mum's bedroom. I swung open her door, which hit her in the head and into a state of panic for herself and me. Looking back on this, it was hilarious, but in the moment, neither of us cared. I was full on. Mummy just broke up with me sobbing, like there was no tomorrow, not finding the right words to explain what I just saw. My stepdad had run upstairs and asked what was happening, and the only words I could get out were, "He's in there. He's in there on my bed." My stepdad burst into my room, expecting to be faced with some sort of weirdo intruder. He came back out and said that he'd found no one there. Only this black notebook under my bed, wide open. And on the page that it was open, there were satanic signs drawn all over.
Oh, no.
None of us had any idea how long the book had been open like that under my bed, but we all made the conscious decision to get rid of the book for good.
Yeah, I think that's for the best.
Yeah. My stepdad at the time had bought a pizza oven to go in the garden and thought it'd be a good idea to make pizzas to cheer me up and burn the book in the coals after. The book took a total of 3 hours to fully burn. After this, I had no more mood swings or desire to be angry at the world, and my headaches went away just as fast as they came. It's fair to say that I stayed at my friend's house that night and slept downstairs for the rest of the week. Moral of the story, never buy a notebook from a book fair without checking the pages first.
Yeah, definitely.